Thank you for joining in to learn a little bit more about our team and our expectations this year. We hope you will find this time well spent as we navigate this year together. So we're going to start with a little bit of information about volunteering. Contrary to what your children might tell you, we do still love to have volunteers in middle school. Typically that looks a little different than in elementary school. It's not so much in the classroom as it is helping with things through PTSO, helping work in our copy room, proctoring for tests. If you are interested in doing any of those things, be sure that you have filled out the Cabarrus County Schools volunteer link. It needs to be done every 2 years. It is available on the quick links for the Harris Road website. So if you want to take a look there, you could go ahead and get current on that. Usually the biggest things that we have asked for help with are through PTSO and also through help in the copy room. We have a group of parents that comes in and helps by making copies and laminating and things like that. So if you're interested in doing the copy room work, please let your child's home-based teacher know, and we will get back with you on joining that group of parents, and they will train you on how to work in our copy room and sort of what to expect. If you're interested in helping through PTSO, there's a link on the PTSO website for that. Discipline for our team, and really throughout the whole 6th grade, this is pretty consistent. We use behavior slips. They're about probably, if your child comes home with one, it'll be on a quarter sheet of paper. So it's about maybe 4 inches by 5 inches, something along those lines. It's for behaviors that are similar to the kinds of things that would be a below the line or something like that in elementary school. We ask that you please sign and return those. If your child accumulates 4 within a semester, then that will equate to an office referral. So the first 3 are basically their warnings, and then the 4th one will be when they go visit the office and talk to an administrator. There are also some things that's just a straight office referral, for example, fighting or something like that. But either way, whether it's from an accumulation of behavior slips or from another behavior, then the administrator who sees your child will be the one who determines the consequences for your child. So how can you know what's going on in middle school? One of our biggest suggestions is be sure to use Canvas. Canvas you would get to, or really that you can do a parent account, but the easiest way to get to it really is to look through your child's account. So if you will get your student to share their credentials with you, their username is going to be their first initial last name and then the last 4 digits of their student ID, and then their password will be whatever their student ID number is. So for example, R Blanchard 3955. Password could be something like 12513955. It's going to be something along that sort of format. You can also set it up to be an observer for a child in Canvas, but again, it's really probably easier to just use your student's credentials and look at what they're looking at in Canvas. You can look at the same thing they're looking at. You can also use our websites. Within our websites, we have useful links, we have class documents posted, things along those lines. Also, Parent Portal is where you will find information on your child's grades. They're kept pretty current and up to date there. That will open up on September 11th so that you can get access to that. We encourage you to check that at least once a week. You can also set that up so that you can get notifications straight to your phone about when things are updated and things like that. We do not do conferences in middle school the same way as elementary school. It's not one of those things where everybody comes in at the end of the quarter or anything like that. We do conferences anytime that you feel like you need to come in and talk to us about something. We've already done a few conferences already this year. So you just contact the teacher. We will talk to the teachers on the team and set up a date and time with you. Typically Mondays and Fridays between 12:30 and 2 work best for us, but we sometimes can work around other days or times possibly. And we do tend to do that with the whole team simply so you can get a look at your child's whole day. The Remind app, we have sent papers home in most classes, or they'll be coming home soon. That's a great way to get just quick reminders about things that are going on as well. If you do click on that Canvas link, you're going to end up looking at something that might look similar to this. Notice that it's going to have, for the math one, for example, we have information about ongoing assignments. So, for example, September calendar test gives you information about that, and also a link to the actual document. If you were to click on that link, it would give you a copy of the document that you could print. We do post daily assignments here as well. You can see it goes back several days. It's generally posted on the same day that the assignment is given. Sometimes it may not be until later in the day, but it's generally posted either at the beginning of the week for the whole week, or it's posted daily. It depends on the teacher. Now you'll notice on mine, for example, that if there was a worksheet handed out, there will be a copy of that worksheet. So for example, file folder directions, that would be a worksheet that you could click on it and it would take you to a copy of the assignment. If there was a lesson that we took notes in our term notebook, there would also be a video link that students could use to get notes. This is particularly useful for two reasons. Either your child has not gotten all of their notes or has lost a paper or something like that, or because your child has been absent. When your child is absent, it is our expectation that while they're still out, they go ahead and check Canvas and do any work that they can get done. We realize sometimes they may not be able to get it all done while they're out. That's okay, but at least they'll come back knowing what they missed, having an idea of what questions they might have, and that sort of thing. So we do expect them to do that while they are out. And I often have students say, well, we don't have a printer at home. That's fine. Even if they want to do the work, they can still do the work simply by looking at the worksheet and doing the work on notebook paper. That's totally fine if you don't have a printer. So our work policies. We do expect students to pick up and turn in their makeup work. Again, like I said, that's generally going to be available on Canvas. That's going to be the easiest and most efficient way to get that. If your student does have a late homework assignment on something that was turned in for a grade for homework, then they will have a 20-point deduction. Even if it's turned in the very next day, they have a 20-point deduction if it's turned in within 1 week. So within 5 school days, anytime within that period, it's going to have a 20-point deduction. If it's more than a week late, it will have a 40-point deduction. And if they don't turn it in by the end of the quarter, we will accept it up through the end of the quarter or through a date close to the end of the quarter. We let the kids know what that is because we do have to be able to get our grades done by the end of the quarter, but they will have a 0 if the work's not turned in. The only exception to that would be if they use their 1-day late pass or if there was an emergency and we had a note from a parent. Then another category would be if they have a late project, calendar test, or something else that's long-term, something that they had more than one night to do. In that case, it's a little different. They would have a 10-point deduction per day late, up to 4 days. Anytime after that, and their maximum grade would be a 50, but we do still expect them to turn it in for the quarter. So let's talk a little bit about math. In math this year, we will work on computations with fractions, mixed numbers, decimals, and percents. If your student is struggling with their multiplication facts, they really do need to spend some time practicing. Even just a few minutes a day makes a big difference. We'll also compare and order fractions, decimals, percents, and integers. That would be getting into our negative numbers. And we'll work on one-step equations and inequalities. In the AMPS classes, we'll also do two-step equations and inequalities. And we'll do all those computations with negatives as well. We will work on area, perimeter, surface area, and volume. Right now we're working on area and perimeter, specifically on area. Soon we're going to be getting into surface area. Volume doesn't come until toward the end of the year. We'll do coordinate graphing in all 4 quadrants. We will graph equations. We will work with different types of graphs and statistics as well. Some things to help your student be successful in math class. Calendar tests. Those are huge, huge, huge. Your child should have already brought home a calendar test to show you. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Please note that the due date for that is September 26th. I originally told them 27th and then realized that's a work day. So it's due on the 26th. The pre-check deadline is by the 20th. Again, I already mentioned basic math facts. If they struggle with their basic multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, then any work that they can do to speed themselves up on that's really going to help. Term notebook. You should have seen the term notebook come home already. That's where we take our notes each day in class. We do take notes most days, so they should have something to show you probably at least 2 to 3 times per week in their term notebook, if not more. Tutoring will start in early October. I will let students know in class when exactly we'll start. It will be on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. And when students come, they should come to the front door, and there will be a 6th grade math teacher to meet them there and walk them down to the 6th grade hall. Once they're on the hall, they will have a choice to either work on their calendar or their ALEKS, or they may work on a topic that we're working on in class that they have some questions about. So they have a choice about how they want to spend that time. Another tip for success in math class, your student will be assigned to complete a certain number of ALEKS topics. We're gonna require 10 topics every 2 weeks. Tentatively, we're planning to do the initial assessment September 23rd. Once they've done their initial assessment, then they will be able to start working on topics. That'll make a lot more sense once they're actually in ALEKS and working. And they will, again, be expected to do 10 topics within every ALEKS time period. Once we start that, you can check Canvas to see the dates that they have topics due. Now back to those calendar tests for just a minute. This is the basic idea of what one looks like. So you kind of get the idea. It really truly does look like a calendar. It will be a colored piece of paper that they will get every month. It's always going to be on a colored sheet of paper to help it be easy to find. So their job is to work out each of the problems. They are to show their work on notebook paper. They've already set it up. They are to box it, so their paper should have anywhere between 6 and 10. They could do anywhere from either 4 or 6 all the way up to 10, no more than 10 boxes per side of paper, and they can use the backs of the paper. They number their boxes, and then that allows them to work in any order they want. So they can start with number 7 if they want, and they've already got a spot reserved for number 7. So their job is to work out each of the problems on their notebook paper, and then they put their answers on the back. They are not allowed under any circumstances to use calculators. So they have to have the computations that support their work. They need to make sure to include the units. For example, 2 dogs plus 3 dogs is 5 dogs, not just 5. They also need to remember to use order of operations, and again, they have to have work to support each question. And their work even could be words explaining their thinking for how they knew what the answer was. They are allowed to bring this to me twice during the month for a pre-check. The pre-check deadline for September is September 20th. That's a Friday. They may bring it to me in home base. That's when they're supposed to bring it, and they put it in my room. They've been shown where to put that. I will check it and give it back to them. They can make corrections, and they should correct their answers on their answer sheet, show their work corrections either by erasing where they had their old work and replacing it, or by starting a new sheet titled corrections and then putting their work there. Either way is fine. But they correct the problems, change their answers. They can bring it to me for a second check by the 20th of September or whatever the date happens to be for that month. Then they can turn it in for a final check anytime by the last date, and that date's when I will keep it, and that will determine their final grade. Now, when I pre-check it, it's going to look like this. Obviously, they're going to have answers written in, but it's going to look like this. So notice the first time through, I will circle the questions that are incorrect. I may write something like the word unit. That means that they're either missing a unit or the unit that they wrote was incorrect. So the first time I go through, I'm going to check it. Notice for this student, for example, there were 9 questions that they needed to look at again. And then I initialed it and I put the date, September 6th. If they bring it back to me again, I'll check it a second time. That's what you see in the blue ink. So they had number 2 right, number 5 right, number 9 was wrong. 15, 18 were good. 21 and 23 needed another look. 26 was correct, and 29 needed another look. So altogether, that was 4 questions they needed to look at again. So that's why this says -4, my initials, and the date. When I do the pre-check, I do not look at their work where they have worked it out, because it's just a simple, quick check. When I take it up for keeps, I will look at it. So even if they have the right answers, but they don't have work that supports their answers, it is still going to be counted wrong because they don't have supporting work. Getting that calendar done early, getting it pre-checked, that's really going to help them to be successful, and it's a great review of things we do throughout the year.
Good afternoon. This is Mr. Kidd, your 6th grade Sargent's science teacher. In science this year, your student will study earth science by building an understanding of the lithosphere, the layers of the earth, and all of the associated products with that. In physical science, we will investigate the characteristics of matter and energy flow through an ecosystem. Also, in physical science and life science, we will investigate plants. For physical science some more, we will also investigate the energy transfers. We will build an understanding of our solar system for earth science. And finally, we will talk about the physical and chemical changes that happen to atoms. And at the very end of the year, we will, like I said, go over a unit of life science and study plant structures and functions. If you have any questions about science, please see my Canvas slides and understand how to log into Remind. We do have a section of the notebook made especially for science. So please make sure that your student has a section in their binder for their science notebook.
Hello, this is Mrs. Summers, and I teach social studies. This year in social studies, we will be looking at the 5 eras, beginning with prehistoric period and ending in the year of 1450. We are going to it takes about 2 weeks per unit. So as we go through the units, the students will keep all of their material in their binders. The main topics that I'm going to cover this year include the Stone Age and the development of the first civilizations, including Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, the Indus River Valley civilizations, ancient China, ancient Greece, and the Roman Empire. We will end the year with the medieval period in Europe, and we also do the study of Mesoamerica with the Aztecs, the Incas, those civilizations, Aztecs, Incas, and the Mayans. So we cover a lot in an entire school year. All of the students' work should remain in their social studies section in their binder throughout the study of each era. I went through and put the binders together for the students, and all of their work should remain in my social studies section. When an era is complete, at that point, students will be instructed to remove those papers and store them at home to make room for the new era of study. I encourage the kids to keep up with all of their work, and possibly, like I say, put it somewhere at home where it's safe so that you make room for the new unit, because we will be taking a test at the end of the year where we will come back and take a look at some of the material that we covered. That is pretty much it for social studies. If there are any questions, you can always send me an email, and you can reach me again at lashawn.summers@cabarrus.k12.nc.us.
For language arts, we use the Reader's Workshop format. We start with a read aloud, a time when I model good reading and writing skills through the use of authentic and meaningful text and responses to them. Partner talk is also effective response to mentor text. Students also have time in class for independent practice. They are required to bring a self-selected text, their herbs to class each day, their notes in their ELA binder. These notes, students are given the opportunity to practice the skill or strategy developed in the mini lessons in their small groups or independently. Expectations for ELA are that students have their independent reading book in class at all times. This has been an issue so far this year with many students not having this book. They are asked to read at least 20 minutes each day and keep a reading log that is in their ELA binder current of the current book they're reading. Along with this, they have a nightly think mark. The first think marks went home on September 10th. It is neon green. Along with the think mark is a bright yellow piece of paper that needs parent signature that gives the criteria for think marks. Think marks are a weekly grade. Starting this week, students will receive their very first spelling list. The quiz on this list will be on September 20th. Spelling quizzes will only be the first quarter of the year. In ELA, we have reading assessments or quizzes. A lot of these include strategy skills learned that week and previously learned skills and strategies. This is an example of what a think mark looks like. In order for your child to earn all points, the information must be accurate. Capitalization will count against them. All answers have to be in complete sentences. In this area of page range is where they put the pages they read that particular night. Each answer being in complete sentences and answer completely is worth 14 points. Students do receive extra credit if there's a parent signature, not initials, a parent signature. Think marks are due each Monday and are given each Monday.